Hey everyone, welcome back to JavaMentor.net. In today's video, let's learn more about constructors and let's learn about this keyword. So let's start with constructors. Some of you might think in the previous video, okay, we are creating a new object of a book here. Can't we just pass those attributes somehow in an easier fashion than this? For example, we have a function tax calculator here, and that function has some inputs, some parameters between those brackets, right? And there are brackets here. Can't we just go with title here and number of pages and something like that? Okay, instead of title, of course, it's red because there is no variable named title. There is no variable named number of pages. That's why IntelliJ is complaining and it's basically telling you the heck is this? Cannot resolve symbol title. So if you put some string there, it will be fine. Number of pages 300. For example, something like this. Is this possible? Because these brackets seems like that's the usage of those brackets. And you're right, this is possible through the constructors. Now, what's the point of the constructor? We have a book here, and Java has some way to create objects. It uses constructors. And by default, if you don't write any constructor, Java writes one default constructor like this. Constructor that doesn't have any arguments and do nothing. But you can use this constructor to create your objects. And that's exactly what we used in our previous example to create our object. We used constructor without parameter, without any inputs. This one. And even if we don't write that one, it's still there, automatically added by Java. Now, as you can see, this constructor is used to create objects. And what are the specific things about this constructor? Well, first of all, it has the exactly same name as the class. So constructor is a function which has exactly the same name as a class. Take a note that it's case sensitive. So if you go with small b, it doesn't work. Also, constructor doesn't have a return value. You see, this function has some return value along its name. This is the name of the constructor, which is the same as the class, but it doesn't have the return value because constructor always returns the type of the class. And the rest of the things is the same. It can have multiple parameters, it can work something here. It doesn't return anything. Be careful, so you don't need to say return new book or something like that. No. So there is no return statements in the constructor. And now let's do something inside this constructor, right? Okay, from here, let's say that we want to pass title and number of pages through the constructor, right? So if we go with this string, which is a title, and number of pages, which is 300, it will be red. It will tell expected 0 arguments, but found 2. That's because we passed 2 arguments to our constructor, and there is no constructor with 2 arguments here. Let's add 2 arguments here. So first one is title, and the second one is number of pages. Again, you should notice that for every argument, always you need to specify what is the data type of that argument, of that return value, of everything. Because Java is strongly typed programming language. You always need to say this is a type for a variable, for a field, for a return value, for input, and so on and so on. And that's very useful because you cannot create a problem by accidentally adding characters to the memory place where numbers should be stored and so on. Some other programming languages are not strongly typed. So you can first add a string into some variable and then you can add a number. But that's not the topic of this video. Let's proceed with this thing. So now we need to take this title value. So take this string and add that to our variable title. So title equals title, right? This title is equal this title. And the same for number of pages, right? And now we have one problem. This makes very little sense, like how we distinguish this parameter name title from the field name title. That's a very interesting question. And if you click on this one, you will see that this is becoming highlighted. So it means that we mean that, and if you click on this one, it both highlight those three words. So it means that this title is actually a parameter. We are not touching our field. We're doing nothing with our field title in the constructor. And the same is true for number of pages. And IntelliJ even tells you, take a look at this one. If you hover with your mouse, it will tell you the value title assigned to title is never used. Okay, that's something non-related. But anyway, if you want to reference this title instead of parameter name, you need to use keyword this. So this dot title equals title. This dot number of pages equal number of pages. And now you are saying like this. Take title, which doesn't have this, which means it's a parameter name, it's a parameter title, and assign that parameter title to the field title. Take this parameter number of pages and assign that parameter number of pages to the field number of pages. And that's why this keyword is very important. Also, if you have some variable here, for example, string ESBN, for example, like this, and then you want to assign this variable to the field, it's the same idea. You reference field using this, and ESBN have the same treatment as a parameter. So variables and parameters doesn't need this to be referenced. Only fields need this in front of them. This keyword is not a specific thing for a constructor. You can use this inside your functions. So for example, if you have here some variable that has name description, you can say this dot description to reference your field, and then you say equals to description, which is a variable name. Take a note that if you don't have a naming problems, for example, we didn't use this keyword for this number of pages, right? And you see, if I click on this number of pages, it will highlight a field. But that is because there is no variable named number of pages, and there is no parameter number of pages. For example, if we add parameter number of pages, you'll see that now number of pages field is not anymore referenced. So this keyword is used to avoid naming problems. It's not mandatory for fields. Okay, the last thing to figure out for the constructors is what's complaining now. Okay, this is actually IntelliJ is helping me. So what's the problem now? It's complaining here, expected 2 arguments but found 0. So it's basically telling you that you need to pass 2 parameters. But didn't I just told you on the beginning of the video that Java automatically add constructor without parameters, right? Even if you don't write one? Well, that is true, but if you add some constructor with some parameters, Java will delete that automatically added no constructor. So now you don't have no constructor. That's a very interesting thing to know. So Java implicitly add no argument constructor, but if you create your own constructor, Java will delete its own constructors. And the last thing to know is that you can have multiple constructors. Of course, for example, you can have another one without parameters. That's fine, because constructor is some kind of function. You can think of it as a function, and the specific thing about this function is that it has the same name as a class and it doesn't have a return value, right? It can do something inside and it can have parameters. So now we added new constructor without arguments, and now this creation of the objects is not complaining anymore. That's everything about constructors and this keyword. And in the next video, let's learn about the most famous class in Java. It's a string class which all developers use every single day. See you in the next video.